One of the questions was, do you believe you have a championship roster? And he answered that with a yes. I mean, I don't know, any GM that's in the championship games and winning divisions consistently probably feels they have a championship roster. It really comes down to whether or not they can find the answers in-house to maybe overcome some of their shortcomings, which is, that's not unusual, right? Every team that's going to try to win the Super Bowl might have some spots they'd like to be a little bit better in. So we turn to how they can do it, right? If the Bills were after defensive line help because of the injuries to Ed Oliver and Michael Hoecht, do they have the horses in there that they think can get them through? We saw so little of Hoyt, but he made such an impact in a game and a half, not just on the field, but even in the minds of Bills fans and seeing how they used him. What do you think the best plan is to try to get what he was bringing to this defense?
Yeah, I think they have to attack it in numbers. And I guess what I mean by that is, you're going to have to use Javon Solomon. I think you're going to have to continue to use Dorian Williams as a pass rusher, which we saw last week, and it had some measure of effectiveness. And I think Javon Solomon is coming on as a player. And look, this goes back to what has made Buffalo perennially a contender. It's their coaching staff and their player development, and they're really going to have to lean into that now, perhaps more than ever, because you're not adding any more players really unless, somebody's on rehab somewhere that they have their eye on and is suddenly going to be healthy for the last month of the season that you might be able to sign to your roster that's out there. Short of that, I don't know if you can do anything better than basically developing your own. And I think Landon Jackson's a guy that's got to step up. And I know fans might be like, oh, geez, we're dependent on that guy. He hasn't even worn a jersey. Well, he hasn't because he's at a position that had tremendous depth going into the season. So now, that's a guy that they're going to have to bring along. And they've been encouraged by his development in the practice setting. Well, now he's going to have to show up and do something more for them in actual games.